Hi everyone, this is William from the Headphone Experience, and I'm here tonight with my first impressions of the Kennerton audio equipment Vinneta. And this was sent to me by Kennerton Audio for review, and it currently sells for $3,277, and that's in US dollars. Kennerton audio equipment is out of St. Petersburg, Russia. And I'd want to mention that it's been over 3 years since I reviewed a Kennerton headphone, and I had reviewed a lot of Kennerton headphones in the past, and I've always been a big fan of Kennerton, but it has been a while, and I was trying to figure out how many Kennerton headphones I have reviewed in the past, and it looks like about a dozen actually, either Kennerton headphones or headphones that were built by Kennerton for someone else. So anyway, I did put together a list I just wanted to mention, and I had to make a list because I couldn't remember all of them. But the Kennerton headphones I have reviewed in the past, and the last one was 3 years ago, and I guess it's been because of, circumstances, and it just hasn't been possible to get a hold of a Kennerton headphone lately, but they did get one to me. So anyway, in the past, I reviewed the Kennerton Valley, the original version, the 2019 version of the Valley, the Kennerton Magni, the Kennerton Woden, the Kennerton Odin, and that was the 2019 version of the Odin, the Kennerton Thror, the Kennerton Ragnar, and that was the plainer version of the Ragnar, and that's actually the last Kennerton headphone I reviewed, and I think that was in March of 2022. Then I've also reviewed 3 headphones that were made for LSA by Kennerton. One was the HP1, the HP2 Ultra, and the HP Diamond, and also the Fisher Audio, which is connected to Kennerton. Kennerton's like the high-end edition or version of Fisher Audio, and that was the M12S. That was several years ago. And also the APOS Audio Caspian, which was manufactured for APOS by Kennerton, and I gotta admit, I didn't really care for that one. It seemed like a really nice headphone. I just wasn't crazy about the way it was tuned. A little bass heavy and a little shy in the treble. But most headphones from Kennerton I've loved. In fact, the Kennerton Thror, Ragnar, and Odin have been some of my favorite headphones all the way through the 6-7 years now I've been reviewing, so still listen to them a lot. I still have all the Kennerton headphones here, and so anyway, this is my first review of a Kennerton headphone in over 3 years, and this is the Vinneta. So this is a wired, full-size, over-the-ear, open-back headphone. It uses 80mm planar magnetic drivers. The membranes in the drivers are completely different than they used to be, and they're now made of a paper aluminum material, and I'm not sure how that works, but that's from the website. These have an impedance of 24 ohms and a sensitivity of 108 decibels, so these are actually very easy to drive for a planar magnetic headphone, and probably no harder than a lot of dynamic driver headphones. But these are even easier than some of the newer Hi-Fi Man planar magnetics like the Aria and the Ananda Nano, the HE1000. Those are a lot easier than the old planar magnetics from Hi-Fi Man to drive, and this is even easier than those. So you don't need a huge amp. You don't need a nuclear power plant supplying your amp to, drive these headphones. Are actually really easy. So they use a detachable cable with 4-pin mini XLR connections, which is what Kennerton has always used, And this here is a cable that came with it. It's sort of a braided, it does have a 6.3 millimeter single-ended plug at the headphone amp end. And then at the headphone end, you got your 4-pin mini XLR connections. And this did come with 2 cables, and I'm not sure if this headphone, if that's normal, because I was looking at the website, it didn't mention 2 cables, but mine did come with 2 cables. And this one is basically the same, but a little heavier, and it does have a full-size 3 or 4-pin XLR connection at the amp end. So I'm not sure if that's standard with the Vinneta coming with 2 sets of with 2 cables, but I did see a used Vinneta advertised, and it did have 2 cables with it, so I'm not sure. Like I said, the website only mentions the one with the 6.3 millimeter single-ended connection. This headphone does come with 2 sets of ear pads, and the pads that are on it right now are sheepskin leather, real sheepskin leather, incredibly soft and comfortable. And I believe that these are the ECL01 memory foam pads. They're definitely memory foam. I'll show you a little closer in a minute. But it also came with a pair of velour pads. And to be honest, I have not tried this yet with the velour pads. I've probably had this headphone for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks now. And I've got a lot of time in on it, but I didn't listen to it with the velour pads. And in fact, I was looking at the website last night to find out what all came with this, and it mentioned it came with 2 sets of ear pads, velour, and I was sure mine didn't. And I went and looked in the box, and sure enough, they were in there. So I guess I just kind of overlooked them at first. So I've never tried the velour pads yet. I will do that before my full review. But to be honest, I've never reviewed a headphone that came with velour pads as an option that I like the velour pads. I've always picked the leather pads over velour every time. I just prefer the way they sound. But I will try these and let you know how they sound before I do my full review. And somewhere here, I've got the case that Kennerton headphones come in now. I don't think it's real leather. I think it's an imitation leather, but it's actually pretty nice. And then this headphone, and I didn't realize it came with this either, also comes with a pretty nice bag. It's a real heavy material and soft, and this is to keep your headphones in. If you don't want to put them back in the case, you can just throw them in this to keep the dust off of them, because you probably know that planar magnetic headphones don't like dust. It can collect on the membrane and cause buzzing sounds or distortion. So you always want to keep your planar magnetic headphones in some sort of case or covered so they don't get dusty. So I'll try to give you a closer look at this headphone. It's actually beautiful, like all Kennerton headphones in the past. The ear cups are machined out of a solid chunk of wood. It's not plastic with a veneer on it. It's not a thin little piece of wood. This is actually machined out of one solid chunk of wood. And I'm not actually sure which wood this is. It looks like maybe walnut to me. I'm not sure. It doesn't really have a gloss finish to it. It's a little bit shiny, but it's kind of a flat finish. But I think this is walnut, but like I said, I'm not absolutely sure. The website from Kennerton didn't have the Vinneta listed in walnut, but had some of their other headphones that it showed in walnut, and they look similar to this. The one that I was looking at, I think, was teak or something like that, and this didn't look the same. So anyway, solid wood ear cups. The ear pads are genuine sheepskin leather. Like I said, extremely soft, extremely comfortable. And as you can see, this is how you can usually tell if it's memory foam. If you press it in and it comes back out real slow, that's usually memory foam. They do have the newer style of headbands. I actually prefer the old style that only, I think the thrower still comes with that. It's bigger, it's heavier, and Kennerton went to this lighter weight headband, but I actually like the old style that was on the thrower. I don't have them handy, I'd show it to you. I'll try to do that in my full review. But anyway, they do have a little bit of flex to them. The clamping force is real good on these, and they've got an adjustable, self-adjusting strap. So putting them on, it's just a matter of putting them on, and they automatically adjust to your head and fit you. They're actually very comfortable, just slightly on the heavy side. These, according to the website, weigh 508 grams, which is actually kind of getting up there, kind of heavy. I mean, most full-size headphones weigh anywhere between like 400 grams and the upper 400s. Kennerton says a weight of 508, but they didn't feel that heavy to me, and I weighed them on my kitchen scale, which has been pretty accurate, and they came in at 476 on my kitchen scale, so still slightly on the heavy side, but because the clamping force is just right and the pads are extremely comfortable, I find this headphone very comfortable and can wear it for a couple hours without any issues at all. So anyway, before I get into the sound, I wanted to talk about the equipment I used a little bit. I think the equipment used in a review is important. It needs to kind of match up and synergize with whatever I'm reviewing, whether it's a headphone, an amp, a DAC, whatever. So anyway, I'm using CDs, and I was using my Cambridge Audio 540C CD player as a transport when I first got this, but I have since updated that, upgraded, and I'm finally retiring my Cambridge Audio. It's given me 15 years of great service, but it's starting to have a lot of issues, so I was finally able to get a hold of a new CD transport, and that's the Shanling ET3 CD transport, and I think you can see it. Should be up in the upper corner up there, and I've been very happy with it so far. I've had that about 3 weeks maybe and love it. It's a CD transport only. There are no analog outputs, only digital outputs, but it has 5 digital outputs, and I can run 4 of them at the same time and can run pretty much everything on this rack from that single CD player and jump back and forth, compare amps, compare DACs. It's great. I love it. And it plays all my old, like 40-year-old CDs from the 80s that are scratched up and look like crap, and it plays them all without any issues. Where some CD players I've tried just won't play the old stuff, a lot of skips and misses and stuff. So anyway, then primarily to review this headphone so far, I've used 2 different DACs. What did I use? The Topping D70S MQA version, which is my favorite Topping DAC and measures almost perfect. And then also the Audio GD R8 MK2, which is an R2R DAC. It's huge. It weighs about 28 pounds, sitting right up here, and it doesn't measure near as well as the Topping, but I actually love this DAC, and it just has a humongous sound stage and sounds just as clean as the Topping in my opinion, but with a much larger sound stage, and just a great DAC. So anyway, and then amps. It's not here anymore. If you watched my last video, you saw a big red 2-piece amp sitting right here, and that was the Ray Samuels Audio B21 Raider, which is a $12,500 amp that I just finished reviewing, and I had the pleasure of having that here in my home for almost 3 months and listened to it every single day. And I did listen to this headphone on that amp several times, and it sounded incredible, but this headphone doesn't need that much power, that much amp. That amp just had incredible power and drove hard to drive headphones like the Sesvara and the HE6 beyond any other amp I've ever tried. But anyway, this headphone doesn't need near as much, but The amp that I've really enjoyed this headphone with is sitting right here. It's the Wells Audio V8. And it is an OTL tube amp, but it works really well with planar magnetic drivers, even all the way up to the Sesvara. It actually does a really respectable job of driving the original Sesvara, and an even better job of driving the less power hungry Sesvara Unveiled. So anyway, but this headphone with this amp just synergizes so well, and that's my primary amp I've listened to so far. So also the Hi-Fi Man Serenade, which is a combination DAC amp, and you should be able to see that. It's sitting right here. So that's the equipment I've used so far. So and I did want to mention that, but now I'll get into the sound. So the sound of this, I'm going to start out with saying that the tone balance is slightly V-shaped. I wouldn't call it neutral. It does have a little bit of emphasis in the bass. The treble, not really emphasized, but definitely a lot of treble energy. So yeah, I'd say a little bit of a V shape. Has a very nice, warm, rich mid-range to it. The extension at both ends is very good. It extends very well into the low sub bass, and it extends very well into the upper treble, as high as I can hear anyway. But I have to admit, my ears are getting old, and like the rest of me, and I know I can't hear anything above 15,000 hertz anymore. So, but anyway, I don't hear any roll off in the treble, and once again, the bass goes very low. So I'll start out with the mid bass on this. The mid bass is tight, it's well controlled, but it's got some good weight to it. I mean, more so than most headphones I have. I mean, okay, as a comparison, the Hi-Fi Man Aria Organic is probably the bassiest of Hi-Fi Man's high-end planar magnetic headphones, and this has a little more bass than even the Aria Organic. It's got some good weight to the bass and good impact and good slam to the bass, but yet it's very tight and well controlled. It's not muddy. It's not distorted. It's just really good bass. The mids on this, warm, rich, and female vocals are absolutely beautiful on this. I'll tell you in a minute what my favorite headphones were for female vocals, and this one I think outdoes both of them. I'll tell you now, the ZMF Atrium open back has always been one of my favorite headphones for female vocals. Just makes them beautiful. And then the Kennerton Odin 2019 version was probably my #1 favorite headphone for female vocals, and I think it just got bumped to #2 by this headphone. Okay, treble. It's clean, it's got energy, it's very linear. The entire treble is there, not one narrow little peak like some headphones that just put a little peak so you can hear the cymbals, but the rest of the treble is missing. This headphone, all the treble is there. Great sparkle, and just doesn't ever sound harsh though. It's just, I would compare it similar to the treble on like the Hi-Fi Man HE1000 SE. Very present and it's there, but it doesn't sound harsh. It's so clean that it always sounds good. Okay, detail and resolution on this headphone is outstanding. It's up there with some of the best, and I'll give you a few very brief comparisons in a minute, but detail and resolution, I mean, there's only a handful of headphones that are up in the league of this as far as detail and resolution. Imaging and separation, once again, outstanding, very precise imaging, and very good separation of instruments where everything is separate, has its own location. soundstage, very large, very wide, and very good depth. In fact, better depth than most headphones I've heard. Probably of all the headphones I've heard in the past, the one with the best depth to the soundstage is the Kennerton Vinneta, and this is right up there with that one. And this probably has better depth than even the Hi-Fi Man Susvara, which the lower end, well, Hi-Fi Man headphones, I've never thought they had much depth to the soundstage until I heard the HE1000 SE, and that one really did impress me. It had good depth. And then the Susvara, even better. And this is up there, is good or better, probably better than either of those in soundstage depth as far as a 3D, three-dimensional sound. I guess I'm not going to try to go much more into the sound right now. I'll wait until my full review. So I did want to make a few very brief comparisons. And when I do my full review, I will do more extensive comparisons. But for right now, of all the Kennerton headphones I've heard, lately the one that I listen to the most, even more than the Vinneta, even more than the Ragnar, is the Odin, the 2019 version. And the Odin I switched out the stock earpads. In fact, the Vinneta and the Odin didn't get rid of them. They ended up on different headphones. But I replaced the earpads with ECL01 memory foam pads, which the original pads were ECL01, but not the memory foam. So anyway, I think the memory foam pads definitely help the sound quality of the Odin and the Vinneta. So anyway, of the Kennerton headphones that I've reviewed in the past, the one that I like the best, I believe, and do the most listening to is the Odin 2019 version. And this sounds very similar to the 2019 Odin. Has a very similar, slightly V-shaped tone balance, great bass, great treble, warm mids. The difference is this is a step up from the Odin in detail and resolution. So very similar sound to the 2019 Odin, but more detail and better resolution. Comparing this to the Vinneta, the Kennerton Vinneta has incredible detail, very three-dimensional sound stage. This has both of those, an equal sound stage, equal amount of detail to the Vinneta, but better bass, better extension into the sub bass and more weight to the mid bass. Compared to the Hi-Fi Man HE1000 SE, right up there, at least as much detail and resolution as the 1000 SE, an equally huge sound stage, possibly even better depth, and even more bass than, definitely more bass than the 1000 SE. Better extension into the sub bass and more weight to the mid bass, and definitely without a doubt better build quality, better materials than the 1000 SE. And I'll even compare this to the Susvara that I've done a lot of listening to lately. And I've got to say, this headphone, even though it's not quite on the level of the Susvara from a technical point of view, doesn't quite reach the Susvara in detail and separation and pinpoint imaging. Real close, but not quite there. But what this does do is it also equals the great sub bass of the Susvara, but this has better mid bass with more weight to the mid bass than the Susvara, and this needs about 1/10 the amp that the Susvara did or does. And I've got to say, my level of enjoyment listening to this headphone is right up there with the Susvara. That's the only headphone that I've listened to that I enjoy as much as this headphone. In fact, when I had the Ray Samuels B21 Raider here, I had the Sesfara hooked up to that, and that's the best I've ever heard the Sesfara. So the Sesfara was properly amped. Like I said, $12,500 amp that puts out something like 15 watts per channel into 32 ohms. Okay, so I had the Sesfara hooked up to that, had this headphone hooked up to this Wells Audio V8, which is only a $1,500 amp, and went back and forth between the two of them. And even though the Sesfara, yes, was a little more technically perfect, my enjoyment was just as high on this headphone as it was from the Sesfara. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Incredible headphone. I will be back, and I'm not sure when. I'll get to my full review on this. I've got a lot of reviews piled up. But anyway, oh, and I did want to mention I recently had the Meza Empyrean 2, which I did love, and I wish I had it at the same time as this to compare it to. Very similar tone balance, but the Empyrean 2 fell a little bit short of the HE1000 SE in detail, where this one is equal to or better than the HE1000 SE in detail. So I'd have to say that I'm guessing if I were able to compare them side by side, I would probably pick this, almost certainly pick this over the Empyrean 2. So anyway, I'll be back soon with my full review. In the meantime, like I said, I've got a pile of equipment. I've got like 5 headphones in that I need to get reviews out. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Oh, and I did want to mention, this is already, without a doubt, a serious contender for Headphone of the Year. That's how much I like this headphone. So, yeah, this is probably, I would say already, this is probably my favorite headphone, Kennerton headphone, out of the dozen or so that I've reviewed so far. So loving this headphone. Excuse me. We'll be back soon. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. This video helped you. Please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already to my channel, please do so. The Headphone Experience on Facebook is up to 37.2 thousand members. Like to see you all over there. It's a great group, great people. Once again, thanks for watching my video.